government. How government may be affected? We may say that government is partly a creditor and partly a debtor. Equally, partly government is a creditor and because government give loan. Government give loan and the loan amount will be returned. During inflationary period, deflationary, they will get repayment of the loan already paid to the persons. In a way, they are creditors. In a way, they are all debtors also. Government usually borrow from the economy. Internal borrowing and external borrowing may be there. Since they borrow money, they are debtors. Usually, debtors are gainers, creditors are losers. Government being both, partly a debtor and partly be creditors, the plus and minus will be cancelled. They may not be affecting severely. Government may not be affecting severely during inflationary period because partly government is a creditor and partly government is a debtor. As a debtor, government will be a gainer. As a creditor, government will be loser. And so that there may be no effect. Much effect may not be there. There may not be much effect to government being a debtor as well as a creditor, and so that they are not a suffering or may say loser during inflationary period. Next one is controlling of inflation and deflation. That is in your syllabus that is given as the methods for controlling inflation and deflation, monetary and fiscal policies. Instruments to control inflation and deflation. Very quickly we may take instruments to control, methods to control both inflation and deflation. Mainly there are three sets of instruments for regulating, controlling inflation as well as deflation. One is we may say monetary policy instruments. Monetary policy instruments, fiscal FIS policy instrument, and physical PHY physical policy instrument. So we have three sets of instruments to control both inflation and deflation: monetary policy, fiscal policy, and physical policy. Monetary policy instruments are RBI policy instruments, central bank. As a central bank, what monetary package is introduced by RBI in India known as a monetary policy measure. Government policy measures are what is called fiscal policy measures. Government, central, state, as well as the local government. In all the three levels, what policy measures introduced by government known as the FIS, fiscal policy. And government policy on the three level also constitute physical, PHY, physical policy measures. Our only monetary policy is RBI policy, others are government policies. We may take this physical policy, government policy, central, state, local government policy, a direct method of controlling inflation by strengthening public distribution. A direct method for controlling inflation by strengthening public distribution, PDS, public distribution system. A direct method of controlling inflation by strengthening PDS, public distribution, PDS. What do you mean by PDS, public distribution? In India, the most important public distribution is ration shop. And through the ration shop, essential commodities at fair prices we distribute during inflationary period. But during inflationary period, distribute essential commodities at a lower concessional price through the public distribution system, so that private parties will not increase the price to higher level. Buffer stock എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് that is just for the keeping down ആണ്, keeping excess amount for meeting with such occasion. Shortage can be taken. If there is a shortage of essential commodities in the market, from the buffer stock it is taken, go down, it is taken and distributed. എങ്ങനെ ഏതിൻ്റെ ഇൻസ്ട്രുമെൻ്റ് എന്ന് പറയാനൊക്കെ അതാണ് പബ്ലിക് ഡിസ്ട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ. Public distribution system is providing essential commodities to the system. അതെങ്ങനെ ആയിക്കൊണ്ടുപോട്ടെ, whatever may the method, government is ultimately concerned with distributing the commodity in the shop. അതിൽ ഗോഡൗണിൽ നിന്ന് എടുത്താലും കൊള്ളാം, വെയർ ഹൗസിൽ നിന്ന് എടുത്താലും കൊള്ളാം, ബഫർ സ്റ്റോക്കിൽ നിന്ന് എടുത്താലും കൊള്ളാം, എങ്ങനെ ആയിരുന്നാലും മേക്ക് ഇറ്റ് അവൈലബിൾ ടു ദ കൺസ്യൂമേഴ്സ് അറ്റ് എ കൺസെഷണൽ പ്രൈസ് ത്രൂ ദി PDS റേഷൻ ഷോപ്പ്. And in case of India, other than the ration shop, there are many other public distribution centers like Maveli store, Nidhi store, Labham store, Sulabham store, Triveni. All these are public distribution centers where the price is determined by government. You cannot bargain. You cannot make any bargaining with this market at a fixed price as fixed by government. You have to pay. Our government will fix a lower price at a concessional rate through all these departmental stores. That is called public distribution system to counteract the possible rise in inflationary pressure. And the strengthening of public distribution system may not be done after inflation is seen. Before inflation, in anticipation of a possible inflation. In anticipation of a possible inflation also, temporary strengthening PDS may be done. In anticipation. In anticipation of a possible inflation, strengthening of PDS may be done. For example, during festival seasons, in Kerala especially, Onam season, Christmas season, Ramzan season. These are all busy seasons where consumers buy lot of commodities. Festival season. Every year we know August to September period. Every year in Kerala, August to September period, Onam season. In anticipation of the Onam season, sufficiently early, temporary outlets government will open widely throughout Kerala state. Temporary Onam Chanda, Onam Chanda, Christmas Chanda, Ramzan Chanda, temporary. Temporarily it is open and essential commodities are supplied at a concessional rural price, so as to not increase the prices in the private shop. Private shop, they will not increase the price because they know there are many government outlets where the commodities are available at lower price, so they will not increase too much hike in prices. If there was no such an arrangement, sometimes the private parties, because of the heavy demand for commodity, will go and increase the prices. In anticipation, before inflation is generating in the economy, in anticipation of possible inflation, sufficiently early, temporary outlets government is opening, and through which essential commodities are sold at a concessional price. That is a economic policy and physical policy. These are all physical policy where government is entering into the market as a merchant. In case of Kerala, Civil Supplies Corporation. Civil Supplies Corporation is entrusted with the public distribution, and they are responsible to maintain the inflationary control by strengthening the arrangement, strengthening the public distribution arrangement. to counteract inflation and to reduce inflation. This is called a direct method. Direct method, a physical method. Quantity of commodities of various type at a concessional price, it is sold. Physical methods. Now, fiscal government method of fiscal policy we have already taken in public finance. That means fiscal policy, one is budgetary policy. One is budgetary policy. Fiscal policy, one is budgetary policy. Budgetary policy, we have already taken that. Budgetary policy, what should be the budget during inflationary period? During inflationary period, what should be the type of budget preparation by central, state and local bodies? Surplus budget ano, deficit budget ano? What is to be prepared during inflationary period? Surplus budget. Surplus budget is prepared. What do you mean by surplus budget? What do you mean by surplus budget? Total revenue exceeding total expenditure. Total revenue greater than total expenditure. Collect more revenue, less alone is spent in the market, balance is kept as a surplus unspent. Balance is kept surplus as unspent for controlling inflation. Surplus budget, detail we have already taken. And during depression period, deficit budget. Deficit budget preparation during depression period. What do you mean by deficit budget? Total expenditure greater than total revenue. Spend more. Spend more. Prepare a deficit budget during deficit budget during depression. During depression period, deficit budget is prepared. That's what is called a budgetary policy, which we have already taken. Budgetary policy. There can be another policy of what is called budgetary policy, taxation policy. Taxation policy. Another policy measure by government is what is called a taxation policy, and a taxation policy is increase direct tax rate. Increase direct tax rate. അത് അതിൻ്റെ റീസണും പറഞ്ഞു, അന്ന് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞു. We advise government to prepare a surplus budget during inflationary period. If the government is preparing a deficit budget, that is due to political reasons. That is due to political applause. Just for support, always they prefer only deficit budget. But what is to prepare at the time of inflation is surplus budget. What we are advising. അപ്പോൾ increase direct tax rate, income tax, corporate tax and all such direct tax rate may be increased during inflationary period and collect excess money from the people to reduce the level of prices. Since they have more money with them, they are demanding more commodity and the prices are going up, causing inflation. അപ്പോൾ അവരെ പിടിച്ച് വാങ്ങിക്കുക, അത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ. And for that purpose, increase the tax rate, direct tax rate, income tax rate, corporate tax rate, and all other direct tax rate should increase during inflationary period and take away money, purchasing power from the people so as to reduce demand for commodity and reduce the pressure of inflation. Whereas during depression period, taxation means reduce direct tax rate, reduction. Reduce the direct tax rate. Depression and people have no money with them, so in order to give more money to the people, reduce the tax rate. Direct tax rate reduce during depression period and give more money with the people. They may have more money with them, direct tax rate is reduced. അപ്പോൾ അതെല്ലാം ടാക്സേഷൻ പോളിസിയാണ്. ദെൻ എക്സ്പെൻഡിച്ചർ പോളിസി, that is also fiscal policy. What shall be the expenditure policy? During inflationary period, during inflationary period, reduce expenditure by government. Reduce expenditure and keep more money with them. Reduce expenditure because already there is too much money and higher demand existing in the inflationary period, so that government should reduce expenditures during inflationary period and during depression period to boost the economy, revive the economy, increase government expenditure. Increase government expenditure during depression period. അപ്പോൾ ഇതെല്ലാം ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസീസ് ആണ്. ബഡ്ജറ്ററി പോളിസി ഇസ് എ ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസി, ടാക്സേഷൻ പോളിസി ഇസ് എ ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസി, എക്സ്പെൻഡിച്ചർ പോളിസി അനദർ ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസി. All this in public finance we have taken. These are all for inflation and deflation to control fiscal policies of government, physical policies of government. Ini monetary policies of the Reserve Bank of India. Monetary policies of the Reserve Bank of India to control inflation and deflation. Monetary policies are mainly two types: quantitative instruments and qualitative instruments. There are two types of instruments, quantitative and qualitative instruments to control inflation and deflation. And monetary policy can broadly be divided into two types: quantitative and qualitative.